What's going on, everybody? As you can see, I'm pulling a bunch of parts out of a box here because I'm going to install Brembo brakes on this GasGas EC300. This will be the sweepstakes bike for March, and you can just see me pulling these parts out. Why am I doing this? Well, because Braktec brakes kind of suck, and now there's a recall on them. I've never liked Braktec brakes. It's one of the reasons why I've stayed away from the GasGases mostly, but this is a pretty sick GasGas, and then as soon as I buy it, then there's this recall on the Braktec parts, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to give away a sweepstakes bike for March that has these problems? And the more I thought about it, I was like, well, you could go take it to your dealer. Basically what they were saying is take it to your dealer. They're going to take a look at it and maybe like replace the caliper. So this is the front caliper here that we're taking off, but I've heard people having problems with the rear calipers too. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to spend the money. Now, this is expensive. In order to swap this out, so I swapped out the front and the rear. I did leave the Braktec clutch on the bike because I don't think there's been any problems with the master cylinder for the clutches. But we're replacing the master cylinder on the front, the caliper on the front. That's what I'm putting on right here. And then I used all new components. So this is an entirely new, all new parts, all new Brembo parts. I got this stuff off of Rocky Mountain ATV. By the way, if you want to support these videos, use my links to Rocky Mountain ATV. They're down in the video description and they're on my website, dirtbikechannel.com, because it helps to support everything we're doing here. So I actually had one of the components that I needed, but I needed to buy all the other things. So this is about a $1,500 swap over to get everything that you need. Master cylinders, calipers, all those things. And so that's what I did. And then I'm taking the chance here to install this rear disc guard, this Bulletproof Designs rear disc guard on the bike as well to hold that rear caliper. And then, you know, one of the frustrating parts is then you got to bleed your brakes. So I bought, years ago, I bought a brake bleeder. It's the Rocky Mountain ATV's it's the Tusk brake bleeder. You saw me using it just a second ago. You'll see me using it more here at the end as I bleed the rear brake or the rear brakes right now. So I'm going to install this. But yeah, everything's new. Brand new brake lines, brand new master cylinder, brand new calipers. So this bike is going to be set up really, really nicely. It's already got the $3,000 suspension on the front, the upgrades that we did. We put in the WP 6500 Pro cartridges in the front, and then Moto Experts helped us with the valving on that. And there's also a custom shock bladder and custom valving on the shock and everything. That's a beautiful shot of that Brembo. Here, I'm just going to put some brake fluid in there. In the front, I put dot 5.1, and in the rear, this was calling for .4 brake fluid. Silence my phone here. You can see me using this little pump from Tusk. This was really, really great to be able to just put oil up in the master cylinder. And I did this on the front brake too. I just didn't have good footage of it. But then I'll pump up and do put a little bit of vacuum, and then open that bleeder valve in the back, and then I would just watch it suck the brake fluid back through the system. And this is how I was doing it so that I didn't have to do a lot of bleeding at the end. It worked a little bit easier on the rear because you can kind of see everything, but I'll pump up some vacuum and then I'll open up that bleeder line and it'll just suck the fluid, the brake fluid, down through the system. Way easier to do on the back here because you can see everything without having to stand up. So as you can see, you can see the fluid coming through in that little drop, that tank thing that I was holding there. So I'll just keep doing this and just keep running fluid through until I feel like I've got all the air out of it, or at least as much air as I think I can get. I'm going to show you a little bit closer shot, I think, right here. I think I bring the camera in. Yeah, so right here you can see the brake fluid is up at the top of that thing, and then I'll pump a little vacuum. You can see the vacuum in that gauge. And then I'm opening the bleeder valve with my left hand, and it's just sucking that fluid down through the system into that caliper, or in and out into that tube. So I did that several times, front and rear. It's probably the most frustrating part of the whole process is just having to bleed. Bleeding brakes is not my favorite thing, but with this pump here, it makes it a lot simpler. And these are not super expensive. I'll put it up on the screen. I don't have it right here because I bought it years ago. But it's been a nice tool to have when you're bleeding these different systems, whether it's your clutch or front brake or your rear brake, because you got to do this probably every year or two, especially if you get a mushy brake because maybe you've torched your fluid. Like, it's really easy to torch your brake fluid if you don't have your rear brake adjusted correctly. And if you put your foot, if you ride with your foot on that brake, and you or if it's not set up properly, you will cook your brake fluid really fast. I've seen it happen to guys on rides, and then their rear brake is basically unusable. Right now, I'm just pumping it up, and then I would use my hand, go back to the caliper, push in the caliper. Right now, I'm kind of hitting on that, hitting on everything, and just trying to get any of the bubbles to come up into the system. But I was really hardly having any bubbles at all. So, but yeah, I'm just kind of cranking that through like that. Then I'll put the reservoir cap back on, spill a little bit, you can see, and then I will, clean this off with some, I didn't even use brake clean here. I just used some contact cleaner to spray that off because I've got there's so much paint and just, you get aluminum there and everything. Brake clean you can use brake cleaner, but I was just using contact cleaner to get that, the brake fluid off there. And then I'm just adjusting this. You want a little bit of free play in your brake, so that if you do have your foot over there, you're not going to just drag the brake the entire time. And then this is preference, but I think you need about, I don't even know, maybe 5 or 10 millimeters of free play before the brake starts to actuate at all. And then, so that was what that was. So then I'm just going to put this thing back together. But this bike is going to be crazy cool. The sweepstakes will start on March 1st. And it'll go until March 31st. So during that time, the way to get entered to win this bike is by going to my website, dirtbikechannel.com, and buying anything that I have for sale on my website. It's dollar for dollar entries. We will do some bonus entries, some bonus rounds on the first of the month, the middle of the month, and the end of the month. So there will be plenty of times for you to get bonus entries in there. But you can also use my links to Rocky Mountain ATV, because I've got a lot of guys that are like, dude, I don't need another one of your shirts or anything that you have on your website. And I say, great. Well, you can go to Rocky Mountain ATV, and they literally have tens of thousands of products in stock that can get you entered to win this bike. So, and you get the same amount of entries if you use my links to Rocky Mountain ATV, or if you use my, if you buy a shirt or something from my website. I do have better margins on the stuff that's on my website. It helps me a little bit more, but you get the same amount of entries either way. So as you can see, this bike is, she's pretty much ready to go. The only other thing I need to do to it is probably put a better skid plate on the bike, because the skid plate that it has does not cover the linkage. But other than that, the bike is essentially sick AF. But anyway, these Braktec brakes are now done. If you want to buy these from me, reach out to me. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with them, but I just took the whole components off. And anyway, that's what I've got for you guys. Hopefully everybody is having a fantastic day. And the weather is starting to warm up a little bit here in Utah, and so maybe I'll be able to ride a little bit. I've got a KTM 250XC that I'm excited about riding as well, but this is the GasGas EC300 GP that's got custom suspension and now Brembo front and rear, and it's going to be a pretty sick bike for you guys. So anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for March 1st when you can get entered to win this bike. Okay, that's what I've got for you guys today. Until next time, leave a single track.